Welcome to this video series on emergency preparedness for historical records repositories by the Vermont Historical Records Program. The Vermont Historical Records Program is based at the Vermont State Archives and Records Administration and provides guidance and assistance to organizations with historical records. We can conduct on-site assessments, help connect organizations that want to collaborate on initiatives, and we can teach workshops. This video will be discussing how to cultivate a mindset of preparedness, covering tips, tricks, and strategies for helping you with emergency preparedness generally, outside the margins and bounds of the paper your plan is written on. These are some ways that you can get ahead of a disaster in addition to your plan, and that, if when the time comes, will help you enact your disaster plan. Your disaster plan does no good if staff and volunteers are unaware of it, or if they don't know how to implement it when the time comes. The best way to ensure good response when needed is to keep the plan in people's minds, promote it, keep raising awareness. Here are just a few ideas for promoting the plan and emergency preparedness in general. Announce it in a newsletter. Send out periodic emails. Discuss it periodically at meetings. And schedule semi-regular training activities, such as practicing evacuation drills or learning how to use a fire extinguisher. Tabletop exercises can be useful. These are theoretical scenarios where you run through your plan together. Make sure each person involved understands what their role entails. You do not have to do the training all by yourself. There are external organizations that can help you with some of the bigger ones. Try asking your local fire department for fire extinguisher training. An organization like your local emergency management department could help with tabletop exercises and running drills. The Library of Congress has tabletop planning scenarios on their website. Promotion and training, again, take time and effort, just like drafting the plan, but it's worth the investment. Every time your staff and volunteers are exposed to these skills and information, it will help them to retain it and will help reinforce proper, timely action when it is needed. It is crucial to remember that disaster plans are living documents and regularly need to be updated. Contact information changes. Building systems and computers get updated. Supplies get used. The information in your plan must be up to date, or else it won't be useful to you. Establish a schedule of when you will review the plan. Every year, every 2 years, annually is recommended. At that time, read through the plan and check all information, especially contact information and supply inventory. Update if needed. Then, once updates have been completed, immediately distribute to everyone who has and needs a copy of the plan so that everyone is on the same page, working from the same information. One of the most important things you can do is to preemptively build relationships with your local emergency responders. This is huge. It goes a long way in ensuring that they know who you are, what you do, what your needs are, and what your contributions are to the community. Libraries, archives, and other cultural heritage institutions are often left out of the conversations with other organizations' emergency preparedness efforts. So it's a good idea to put yourself out there and make those connections early before a disaster happens. If local emergency responders understand your building and your needs, then they will be able to better respond when the time comes, and a better response will help protect your building, collections, and your other property. An easy way to start the conversation with emergency responders is to have fire or police do a walkthrough of your building. Show them your floor plans, locations of important building equipment. This can help their response when an emergency arises. Some other ideas for how to connect with emergency responders is to invite them to an event at your institution. Ask them for help with site assessment or even emergency planning. Ask them to participate in any disaster plan training you might be doing with staff, or to help run a tabletop exercise. Or you can even do the good neighborly deed and bring lunch or cookies over to the station. Basically, any way to introduce yourself and to get your institution in their awareness. There are some things that emergency responders should know to help them understand the importance of your institution to the community. They should know that you hold collective memory and culture for the community, and that your collections can be irreplaceable if lost. But your institution can also give back and be a helpful part of the recovery process after a disaster, perhaps by being an information center or serving as a community gathering place. And, of course, they should have a general understanding of your layout, the locations of those building systems, and so on. This is what you can share with them if you invite them for a walkthrough of your building. And don't forget, staff does turn over. You'll want to keep up the relationship, which means, much like how you need to revisit your plan and your risk assessment, you'll need to keep revisiting the connection that you have with your local emergency responders so that all current responders are aware of you and of your needs. And do not underestimate the wealth of knowledge that your own peers bring to the table. Doubtless, there are other cultural heritage institutions near you who have experienced some sort of emergency that they've had to recover from. Find out what their experience was like. What worked well? How would they have handled it differently? What did they learn? What sorts of relationships do they have with their local emergency responders and managers? They have wisdom and would probably love to share it. Team up with your peers to undertake emergency preparedness activities, such as running drills, taking training, doing tabletop exercises. It might be easier to bring someone external in to run these activities if there's a larger group of participants than just your institution. And if you team up, you can serve as aid to each other in times of disaster. You could even ask your peers to serve on your emergency preparedness team if they have expertise that you're lacking representation for. And are there any existing local or regional preparedness networks that you can join? This can connect you to other organizations in your area that are doing the same kind of work and could provide more opportunities for training or mutual aid. One regional network available to you is the Vermont Arts and Culture Disaster and Resilience Network, or VACDARN, a partnership of the Vermont Arts Council, the Vermont State Archives and Records Administration, and the Vermont Emergency Management Association. This network enables artists, arts organizations, and cultural heritage institutions to share their resources, their experiences, and expertise. The network helps mobilize response for mutual assistance during emergencies, and the network engages the cultural heritage and art sector with first responders and government emergency management agencies. VACDARN has a lot of resources available on its website. Because VACDARN is concerned with emergency preparedness not only for cultural heritage organizations like libraries, museums, and archives, but also for performing arts organizations and individual artists, the website is broken into areas based on the role or type of organization you are: emergency manager, cultural heritage institution, arts organization, or artist. Within each type, there are lists of resources broken into 3 categories that reflect the emergency management cycle. The readiness resources guide you through preparedness and mitigation actions you can take to ready yourself before a disaster hits. The response section shares resources for what you should do in the immediate aftermath of an emergency in order to start your recovery process as soon as possible. And the recovery section shares tools that can help you bounce back after a disaster, including recovery funding, building restoration, collection salvage, and community healing. And there's a lot more on the website, and you can join the VACDARN mailing list to get announcements and notifications of things coming up, such as events or weather alerts. Your peers and preparedness network connections could also be helpful in identifying a space that could be used as a temporary staging area or command center in case your building is compromised and there's no space available within it. This could be a place to command operations for cleanup, or a space to spread out and salvage materials if they've been wet or damaged. Ideally, you'd want to have an agreement with someone in your community for a local space that's close to your institution, perhaps a school with a gym, a municipal office building, a civic center, a location with a large enough space to spread out in. Another good idea to further your emergency preparedness is to set up standing contracts with vendors before a disaster happens, kind of like having that agreement with another community organization to have a temporary space if needed. Having a standing contract will help communicate your needs and set expectations for both parties before a disaster strikes. So in the moment, you know what to expect and what services you'll receive. It also saves you a lot of time during an incident. Instead of having to take the time to find a vendor for what you need and calling to see if they're available to assist, in the moment, you'll already know who to call and that they'll respond because you've already established a contract. And here's some good news. The state of Vermont already has a standing contract with Polygon, a full-service disaster recovery company based in Massachusetts. Polygon will respond to a disaster scene within 24 hours of being contacted by a state agency, cultural heritage institution, or municipal records holding entity to provide guidance and to help pack out, and if necessary, freeze and dry any affected materials. They can provide freezer trucks, packing supplies, and other equipment as needed, as well as their own personnel to assist and they can help restore the affected space by drying, carpet cleaning, water extraction, and more. The state contract means that those who use it are charged the special rate negotiated by the state, but the state does not pay for the service. That payment is up to you. When looking into vendor services, it's important to first be familiar with your insurance policy and to understand what it will cover. One section of your disaster plan should inventory what supplies you have available, and you can learn more about creating a disaster plan in another video in this series. Here's a recap of some supplies that you can have that will help you in an emergency. Think about cleaning supplies, personal protective equipment, materials to help with drying like a fan, absorbent paper. If the power is out, you'll want to have flashlights on hand, and a camera and paper and a pen will help you document any damage. Build your supply kits ahead of time, and you can start to gather supplies while you're undertaking the disaster plan writing process, and it'll be another way you're prepared when the time comes. Remember to document what supplies you have, where they're stored, and where you can get more supplies from if needed, all in your disaster plan. Now let's see what you've learned. If you'd like to test your knowledge, you can access a short quiz at the link shown here. And this covers the strategies that can be used to cultivate a preparedness mindset. For more information about emergency preparedness, you can view the other training videos in the series or visit our resource library at the link on the screen. Thank you for watching.